Hi, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. So today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite layouts, and I've used it on two different cards, and I'm just going to walk you through how I made both these cards using the same layout. So let's go ahead and get started with this one first. And this card is using the Peaceful Boughs stamp set along with its dies, beautiful boughs dies. And the dies cut out these gorgeous pine looking branches. And you just want to, after you cut it out, make sure all the pieces are coming out. So you have all those beautiful negative spaces that really give it that look. All right, so the pine cones, they've got all these little holes. So we want to make sure we get all those out. All right, so we're also using the beautiful DSP that's in the holiday catalog, and it coordinates with the Toile Tidings Designer Series paper. And so I love this paper because it's really simple. It's got just two colors, the red and the green, as well as the vanilla. And so you can use either side. So this one, I've used it with the red, and I'm going to do the next one with the green just to show you kind of the difference and how they both work really well with this card. Okay, so the layout. The layout usually incorporates the Designer Series paper, the DSP. And so what you're going to do is you're going to cut a larger, so this is 4 inches by 4 inches, it's just a square, and you're going to put that down, and then you have a smaller or skinnier piece. So this is 4 inches, I think, by 2 inches. So we are going to have a little bit of an overlap, and you can either choose to have it be, you know, this one on top or the plaid on top. So that doesn't really matter how you do that. So that's essential to the layout. And then the other part that's essential is to either have a ribbon or a different strip of cardstock to kind of cover up this seam and to give it a nice transition into each pattern. So let's go ahead and we're going to add these pieces together. And I'm going to start by just adding a strip of snail and then placing this on top. So I kind of can then turn it over and add the ribbon. So I'm just going to now add some snail to where my ribbon's going to be placed. And this ribbon is also in the holiday catalog, and it's part of the Come Together suite. So I really love pretty much everything in that catalog. So then you're just going to fold those sides over and then add this to your card. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the ribbon just to kind of make sure it stays in place and doesn't pop back out. Okay, so then add that to your card, and we are ready for the next step. Okay, so the next part of this card layout is the greeting. And you could use a small greeting or a large greeting, and it can be in any shape. So this shape is more of a rectangle shape, and I'm using one of the dies so I'm using this die, which also comes from the beautiful boughs dies. I think I'm saying that right. Okay, so you're just looking for a sentiment, and you're going to lay that in the middle of your layout. So that's part of this layout. So let's go ahead and stamp that. And we're using the greeting that comes in the stamp set as well. And that just gets stamped in the middle. And then we'll go cut it out at the big shot. Okay, so we have our sentiment. And that's just going to go right here in the middle. And it can go up high or low. That part doesn't really matter. And then the next part is that we put something behind it. So in this card, we are adding those boughs and pine cones. So the way I do that is I turn my sentiment over, and I'm just going to add some snail to give me something for the boughs to adhere to. And then I just start laying it out how I want it to look. And then maybe add a pine cone or two. So this stem is peeking out, so I'm just going to tear it off since I don't want a peeking stem. And then maybe another little pine cone here at the bottom. And then some more of these beautiful branches. So you can just kind of play with it until it looks the way you want it to. Add this one right here. So now we're going to add this to our card, and I like to use dimensionals when you put placing a focal point on my card. So I'm just going to kind of put a dimensional all over. Start in the corners, and then maybe one in the middle to support. Okay, so stick that on. And the last thing we're going to do, we're going to add some of these Toile Tidings glitter enamel dots. And I'm just going to do, I think I'm going to do red, just to kind of pull a different color in here to kind of break up the green a little. And I'm going to use my pickup tool and just kind of start adding these. Okay, so you can kind of put those randomly wherever you'd like, and it just kind of gives a pop of color to your card. Oh, and here is, this one I use little gold pearls, but you can't really see them, but so that's why I kind of moved to the red ones to add the little fun pop. Okay, so this is our second card using the same layout. So I'll show you how I did this one. Okay, so we've got our supplies to make this second card, and we again have a square. So this one's a little bit longer. We've got, it's probably 4 inches by 4 1/4. Yep, so 4 inches by 4 1/4. And then we've got something a little smaller. So this is 1 3/4 inches. And this is the same paper. We're just going to flip it and use the back side for the base. So we're going to go ahead and add those to our card base. All right, so we're beginning our basic layout of having one designer series paper on top and then a matching one on the bottom. And then we're going to go ahead and blend the two papers together with a strip of cardstock this time instead of ribbon. And I'm just using soft suede. and it is about 1¼ inches. So it is a little bit on the thick side. You can really do any color you want. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit more. And then for our greeting, we're using a stitch circle framelit, and this die, or excuse me, this stamp it's a unique one. So I'm going to show you one of the methods. It's a masking method, but you're kind of doing it in the opposite. So let me, hold on just one second. Okay, so it's from the Delightful Day stamp set, and you can see that it has these little confetti around it. Well, I love the saying, but I didn't want the confetti because it doesn't really go with the backgrounds. So I'm going to show you how you can get rid of some stamped areas that you don't want. So the first thing you're going to do is grab a scrap piece of paper. I like to use, what are these, Post-it notes? And so you'll see how I did this with the Post-it note, but for some reason I can't find my Post-it notes. Probably because my children like to take them, use them, and then use them all pretty much. So I'm going to show you how to do it on a piece of paper, but just pretend you're doing it on a Post-it note. So you're going to start by stamping the greeting or the stamp on your Post-it note. Okay. Oh, I should clean this. So you'll see we've got the whole stamp. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut in one area only. You're not going to cut from different areas. And you're just going to cut out the stamp that you want to keep. So that's what I've done here, is I have my Post-it note. I made one slit and I cut out the stamp that I want to keep for my card. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get your paper that you're going to stamp on. You're going to place your Post-it note over that area and then get a little piece of tape and close that little slit off. All right, so we've got this isn't called a negative space. So we've got our negative space where our stamp is going to be. So now you ink up your stamp. And I guess you could do this with any stamp, but it is much easier with one of these photopolymer stamps because you can see through it. So you can see that I'm lining it up where the stamps are, and then you just stamp it. And then pull this off, and you've got your stamp. And then definitely save that. I like to keep my masks in the stamp set case with the stamp. So I'll throw my masks in here on this other side so that I can use them again. Okay, so we've got this done, and then my card has some of the flowers from the same stamp set, and I've used those in 2 different colors. So I'm going to start with the Calypso Coral and just ink those flowers up, and I put some, let's remove this, put some down here and some in the other corner. And then make sure you clean it. If you don't have one of these chamois, they are the best cleaner. So you'll want to grab one of those from my store. And the second color we're using is Blushing Bride. And it's just kind of a lighter color of the Calypso Coral. And if you don't have 2 colors that kind of match, then you can always do the stamp off, stamp on technique. And that always will give you a lighter color of the ink that you're using. All right. So now I'm going to take one of the Stitch Circles dies, and I'm going to take it to the Big Shot and we'll cut it out. If I can find it. Oh, there it is. And I'm just going to cut this out. And I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our greeting. So you can see how the layout is very similar to the first one we did. We've got our DSPs, we've got something to transition between the two, and then we've got our greeting in kind of a large shape of some sort. You can use any shape. And now we're going to add some things to the back. The first thing I'd like to add is some metallic thread. And I do have some gold that is retired now, but I do have a little bit of it left still. So I'm going to wrap that around my hand. When I use metallic thread, I do a little more than I usually do. That came apart. Just because it's so thin that you can't really see it. If you don't do a lot of it. Sorry, my brain. Okay. So let's go ahead and put this down. Oh. Let's go ahead and put this down. It looks like it's still not quite big enough to see. So maybe we'll just wrap it back and forth on here. So we'll just go start it on the adhesive, and you're just going to go back and forth so that you can see this thread. Kind of peeking out behind the greeting. Okay. There we go. So you can kind of see that. A little bit of that shiny thread peeking out. And then we're also going to add some of these leaves from a punch. So this is the punch, and we're just going to do it in Garden Green. And it looks like we need about 4 leaves. So we got 1, or branches, 2, 3, 4. And now we're just going to add these kind of behind that metallic thread a little bit. Oops. Let's add some adhesive right where we're going to place them. Try that again. One, 2, and then some on this side. 3 and 4. Okay, so make sure those are not coming off your card. So it looks like this one's a little bit on the long side, so we're just gonna bring that down a little bit. Okay, so then we're going to add this with some dimensionals, and just remember to place those dimensionals over some of those elements just to give them that extra bit of adhesive. And then place this on your card. And then you can add some rhinestones or any little accent that you'd like to add. So I also have this retired product. It was just a sequined ribbon, and I sometimes like to use it to add some sequins to my card. And I'm just going to do that with some glue dots. I use some different glue dots. I'm going to use these glue dots instead because I can place them a little easier. Kind of do 3 there, and maybe 1, 2, 3 there. And then you can take the paper off. These glue dots come in the paper pumpkin kits. So if you haven't seen any of my paper pumpkin videos, go look for those and then sign up to get your own paper pumpkin. Okay, so these again are retired, but you would just pull them off and stick them over those glue dots if you have these, or if you have something similar to it. You can also use the pickup tool. You would just pull these off and then use the pickup tool to place them where you want them. Okay. So there is my second card. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me put these cards together today, and that you will give this layout a try. It is really fun and actually quite easy to make a card using any paper and stamps with this layout. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day. Bye.